It was a pretty crazy weekend.
Pretty wild weekend. Something that you normally don't experience. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I still don't really know how to feel about it. But regardless, I guess
Before we start,
before we even get into anything,
welcome back to the Sancha and Sancho podcast.
what's up, amigos? Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad you guys are already listening today. So, my name's Anthony. I'm one of the hosts of the show, always to my left.
Yep. What's up? It's Cindy.
Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in. So, like always, one of the best ways that you guys can support this podcast is go check out our sponsors. We're going to leave the links down in the description below. But
Yep.
specifically, we are brought to you by the Farm Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. We're also brought to you by Submission Nutrition.
And legendary car care,
And we're also brought to you by the Barber Shop.
the Barber Shop.
So, yeah.
And then also, check out our website just to check out some merch. I feel like the temperatures are starting to drop and starting to get chilly out.
It is starting to get chilly.
I
And
don't
I'm
know.
already wearing my long sleeves and jeans.
I know, right?
Ah, man. Gotta love Colorado. But with that being said, long sleeves are still in, or already in, getting ready to start being in. So we're pretty close to selling out our long sleeve black sleeves. So go to our website, check out our merch. That's definitely one of the best ways to support this podcast. Otherwise, like always, hit that like button, that share button, and that subscribe button. But don't forget that little bell over there to get notifications every time that we drop a new podcast like this one.
So back to the crazy weekend, right? That was some wild stuff. And that's actually something that we're going to be talking about. So definitely stay tuned in. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like usually every year, everybody just kind of goes out to the mountains, tries to enjoy their time out there. I feel like last year we kind of got robbed a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't been for a hike, or we haven't gone on a hike in quite a long time. I'd say over a year. For
Yeah, it's
sure
been a
over a year.
minute.
Because the last time we tried to go, we actually drove all the way up to Loveland, but the fires were going on, and the
Right.
smoke was just too bad. It was too bad. So we turned around and ended up just walking, or like kind of around here, right? Because it wasn't nearly as bad at all. Like, it wasn't bad at all. So yeah, it's been quite some time since we've gone up there. So kind of feels like we take it for granted, you know. Colorado's a pretty awesome place. There's so many different things that we can do when it comes to going up to the mountains,
Right.
and it's pretty close. It's all feels like it's in our backyard here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was time. And then the last time we went, we took pictures of the girls. And
For dogs.
yeah, I've been using those pictures as my wallpaper on my phone.
Same here.
Yeah.
Literally the exact same picture. But I feel like that's what's really nice about our mountains here is that we have just so many different trails and like paths that you can go through and that you end up like coming across like towards like a really cool spot or a really cool like destination in the mountains.
With like some cool views.
Yeah. How do you say that word actually? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that
Like mountain views?
say no. I feel like there's a lot of people that are like from like out of state, and they're like, "Why do you say mountains that way?"
Oh, mountains?
Yeah,
Like you saying like we
like
have an
almost
accent?
yeah, like almost like Coloradians,
Coloradoan?
Coloradoans,
Coloradoan.
Coloradoan.
Coloradoan? No. Coloradoan.
Have their own language in a way.
I guess. I don't really know what our accent's gonna be like. But I have heard that actually where people have asked me to say mountain.
Right.
I don't know how else you say mountain. But
Mountain.
But yeah, honestly, we were gonna go for a hike. We planned for a hike on Sunday. So ironically enough, you're like, hey, like let's plan a picnic. I was like, okay, cool. So usually when we go on hikes, I use this app, and the app, like it shows you directions to the trailhead, and it gives you like reviews or like people within the last couple of weeks have gone. Like it'll tell you like if the trail is closed or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the app, and I was gonna try to go back to that trail that we went to where we were taking pictures of the dogs. And I was looking through the reviews to try to make sure it was open. And one of the first reviews, it was saying like within the last 2 months, it was saying that they saw a bear and two cubs.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty crazy though. I mean like I feel like we have a lot of wildlife
Right? I always
here in
see
the
deer.
mountains. Yes.
Always see deer.
For
Like
sure. That's
every
like a casual thing.
yeah, you see deer like you see squirrels, right? Maybe it's not that bad, but you're almost guaranteed to see a deer if you go into the foothills, right?
Mhm.
So I saw that, I was like, all right, we're definitely not going to that trail. Not just no, but hell no, right?
Mhm.
So I pick a completely different trail. Completely different trail. Right. So we're like, okay, cool. And what's crazy is right before we left, I was like packing my gun,
Mhm.
and you gave me like a weird look.
I know, cuz sometimes I'm like, "Okay, really?" I'm like
And I get it. Look, I get it.
I'm
I
like, "Okay, that's a bit much." You know,
I
sometimes
right, right. I get it. Like look, even here in Colorado, right? Like people have I feel like a lot more people than we think have a concealed carry. And you never really know when somebody's carrying here. But I don't really think about it ever. Maybe it's because I just don't see it. And if we go on a hike, like I feel like the intention is like I'm wearing it somewhere that it's like
visible.
visible. You can see it. Not like the animal's gonna see it and be like, "Oh my god, I'm scared. He has a gun." Like it's not like
Just
that.
like other
Just
people
like
that are
so. What?
Oh.
No, it's not even like that. It's so I can just like have access to it. Right?
Oh, okay.
Easily accessible. It's not
That's
for
totally different.
It's not for other people either. No, because it's weird. It's
It
weird.
is awkward.
This is right.
It's like you
I
auto
mean, come on,
like
come on.
usually when you see like concealed carriers just out in the open, just
Makes you
like at a
feel
grocery store like Walmart. Okay.
makes you feel some type of
Yeah,
way, right?
sometimes you're like, okay, like
He's like, oh, he's got a gun.
right. It's just very noticeable. You're like I guess like you just become aware that that person
It is
is
intimidating.
carrying.
It's a freaking gun. Come on.
Yeah.
It is strange. It is. It's weird to just have a gun. Like it's strange. So I get it. I get it. I understand the look, but it's like, I mean, come on. I always take it when we go on hikes.
Someone carries it while they're working out.
I know that's too much. Way too much. But then it's also like, well, fuck. Like, you'd rather need it or rather have it and not need it versus need it and not have it. Like, I get it. Whatever. So I'm packing my gun, right? We're packing all the stuff. We completely did not pack enough water. Like next time we're packing
Well, the thing was,
gallons.
I had left my half of gallon in the car.
Oh, you left the jug. Yeah, that's right.
But sometimes, like when you have animals with you, pets, dogs,
Uh, yeah.
sometimes it becomes a little bit hectic. You're just trying to like make sure they're not going everywhere, like putting on their harness, their leash, and all that.
Yeah, not trying
And
to
then sometimes you just
get
forget.
all wild. Oh man.
You're like, dude, you got everything. You got the keys. All right, come on, let's
Well,
go.
okay. Well, what made it worse, right? So the drive was it was kind of far. It was
I
probably like an hour and
love
20
the
minutes.
drive though.
It
Like
was
I
great.
love our drive um to the mountains. It's like so beautiful here. Like you just like have like a bunch of like views of
Right.
like all these different lakes.
As soon as you get outside of Loveland, right, it's like it starts getting really beautiful.
yeah.
So we go through. We were hiking in Glenhaven. Or up past Glenhaven. I think it was up in Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're out there where we find the trailhead, and it was actually a crazy drive. Like, there was a couple pretty crazy spots that we were driving through. Like, your
Yeah.
car was. I don't know if your car was gonna make it.
I was a little bit scared. That's when I'm like, dang it, like an SUV would be perfect, I feel like, in a way.
I know.
But that's not the case right now.
I know. So we get to the trailhead. And
But hold up though, like I do want to touch base on that. Like, on the way, like as you're like driving up to the mountain, like to the trail, like the roads are like just super, super steep, like steep up, and like you're just like doing like these like
You're zigzagging up the
yeah, pretty
freaking
much.
mountain, basically.
Pretty much. And you just like look over on the edge and it's like you're definitely getting higher in the mountain. But it's a dope view for sure. And I think at this point we just
Well, for like the last 30 minutes, Bella, our Doberman, was just whining like crazy. Like she was over it. She didn't want to be in the car anymore. She was like just starting to fuss and just starting to cry. So that already starts like getting kind of stressful, right? You were driving. I was in the back trying to wrangle her, right?
because I
Oh.
can't. I'm like, you control the dogs and I will control my driving.
So we get to the trailhead, we pull up, and right before we get out, another freaking car pulls up, and they have dogs with their heads out
Right.
the window. And
Like, oh
immediately I'm like,
shit.
oh my God, great. Like my dogs are going to go crazy. This is going to be awful. Just add to
Luckily,
the stress.
yeah, luckily it's like they're dog owners too, so I'm sure it's like,
I
you
think they
put
got
two and
it. Yeah, yeah,
two
yeah.
together.
They
Like,
pulled up, they
okay.
actually waited in their car
Until we kind of
until
left
we
a little
like,
bit, yeah.
yeah. It was pretty cool. I think they got it. They
Mhm.
understood. Respect. Uh, so it was cool, right? So we get to the trailhead. It's actually, so by the way, it's me, you, and I mean, Jenny was there.
Mhm.
So it's me, you, Jenny, the dogs, and we start this trail, right? We go up, we start walking, we make it all the way to the top. This trail was pretty freaking hard.
It was fucking hard, man.
It was pretty hard.
I was sweating. I was sweating.
Well, I mean, it's a hike. So, I mean,
I was sweating out of breath. My asthma started kicking in. Man, it
Your
was just it
there was some pretty sketchy spots. To be fair, on the app, it did say it was a hard trail. I just normally don't tell you anything because I don't know what you're gonna say.
even
You
even
tried
our
getting it?
dogs though were just like they're fucking beasts. Honestly, like I can't believe sometimes that dogs just have this animal. I mean, they're animals, you know what I mean? So it's like, but it's like interesting to kind of see them like kind of figure out like the trails, figure out like, where to go, what paths. And sometimes like when we're like hiking, we let our dogs like a little bit in front of us. So they're actually kind of guiding us. But it's interesting to see
Like what they're doing.
and where they decide to go. If it's like an easy route or a harder route.
Oh, I know,
for
right?
for yourself to go through, right?
Yeah, because there was some spots where we were like, we had to like climb rocks.
Yeah.
Not like that sounds.
It was
pretty
like
aggressive.
it,
That sounds.
but it
aggressive.
was to a point where we were like basically rock climbing without the freaking ropes.
We're climbing like couch size rocks.
Yeah.
Maybe not like width size, but like just weird shapes, you know? So it was pretty cool. It took us a while, honestly, probably like an hour and a half. Would you say? Get to the top? Because even then, we got to like that one spot where we couldn't even find the end of the trailhead, and then the couple ended up running into us, right? So they
So-
caught up to us, and we just couldn't find where the trail was supposed to go.
Right. And I feel like what's pretty cool though is when you use that app, it was
Oh,
pretty
that's
much
right.
letting everybody know that okay, you got to follow these little like pile of rocks, and that's how you know that you're following the trail. Which I
Yeah.
think that's so dope. Like,
Yeah, the reviews were saying to follow the cairns. I don't know if I'm saying that. Maybe cairns. It's like CAIRNS. Maybe I don't know if I'm spelling that right. But basically, it's stacks of rocks. Like when people stack the rocks, all weird.
right.
People were leaving stacks of rocks to like mark the trailhead, which was kind of cool. That's basically how we ended up finding the trail. Well, the other dude found the trail. He was like, "Oh, it's up here. I don't know. Do you guys want to go first?" And I was like, "Sure. Like we'll go." So we finally make it up to the top, and it was beautiful. It was great.
It was. But I feel like you're skipping around here.
What happened?
Okay, so we got to build up the suspense. So not only, okay, let's back it up here. Let's back it up. So we're going up this trail. Turns out to be really hard. we had to take multiple breaks on the way up. Not guilty over here, but
Definitely guilty. You were definitely taking breaks.
um and at this point, we had like a little bit of music going on. We're like, oh man, this is beautiful. Like, this is amazing right now. Just enjoying the nature, being in it, enjoying it. And then out of nowhere, we're like, oh my gosh, did you hear that? And we got super spooked. We were like,
That's right. I stopped the music. Jenny wasn't even close. She was kind of back behind us taking pictures. So I just it was just us that heard it, right? I was like, what the hell? Did you fucking hear that? So I stopped the music, right? And then Jenny comes running up, like all casual. Didn't even know that we still heard anything, right? So I was just like, okay, well, let's just stay quiet for a little bit and see if we hear anything. So we start walking, then we heard it again, like sticks breaking or something.
yeah, and it's like, oh right, like what?
You're like, all right, what the hell? Something's walking, right? So we
Yeah,
stop.
I was freaking out.
What the hell is that, right? So we was behind us. So immediately it was like, all right, come here, everybody. So everybody like got out close and we kind of stopped.
And like at that point, I was a little bit scared because
Actually, like waiting to see what it is. You can tell it's coming out from around
and
the
it
corner.
sounded close too.
Right.
So we're like, oh
So
hell
like,
no.
Hell, yeah, right. So you just stop and you wait all quiet.
Yeah.
And it was the couple that pulled up behind us. They had caught up to us. But they were kind
So
of
we're like, whoo, okay.
They're still kind of around the corner. We can just hear them still. But then we ended up, so we were like, okay, well, they're catching up. So we started trying to pace, trying to get up the mountain a little bit more. At least I was.
Mm-hmm. I was too.
Okay. Uh-huh. And,
I had to pull out my asthma inhaler every once in a while, but I'm just kidding.
God.
I really need to get one actually, but.
So, yeah, we kind of made it to that one spot where we thought it was the top because we just couldn't find the trailhead.
Right. So we just got to this little point where it was like, okay, I think this might be like the dead end.
Maybe this is the top. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It's like,
So that couple ended up catching up, and they just like kept looking for it, and we ended up talking to them. And they're pretty friendly. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he ended up finding the trail, like where it kept going. But we had to actually like climb some fucking rocks. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So we ended up going through there. The dogs were able to make it like champs. I was like, what the fuck? Doesn't even make sense.
I was worried on the way back. I was like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna?
Oh, I know, right? How are we gonna do this back, right? Yeah. Regardless, we ended up making it past that little spot, and we made it all the way to the top. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely took a while, but it was worth it, right? And we set everything up.
Well, as we started like finding out that this was the top once we got there, it was such an amazing view. It was like you just had like the whole entire view of like the city, of like lakes that were like far away. I'm pretty sure we even saw like the Devil's Backbone, right?
Yeah, you could see a lot of stuff from there. Yeah, you were able to see Pinewood, I think Carter, and Lon Hagler. I think those are the three little ponds that we were able to see from there.
Yeah, it was like an amazing view. And at this point, like, with this area that we were in, like, it was like pretty flat. It was like spacious, but there was like a couple trees every, like, It
was dope.
Yeah.
But, like, really rocky. So, like.
But the second that.
Like a freaking cliff.
Right. But, like, I feel like the second that we pulled up.
Oh, we kind of like.
Saw.
Yeah, we kind of like lost the trail a little bit. Kind of lost the trail, and like we're kind of looking around, and it kind of looked like a cave. I wouldn't really say a cave, right? But it was kind of just like how the rock formation kind of just like made a little spot underneath it where there was like a good little cave, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a cave, and we're like, oh, snap. Like, make sure there's nothing in there,
Right. Well, I mean, we definitely blew it off.
Yeah. But we did look at it. We're like, oh, okay, well, it's empty, We're like, all right, cool, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Pulled our sandwiches, started eating some good ass lunch.
I know. It was really good. We had the hammock out.
We're like full on camping up in there.
Right, a little day camp. It was nice. A little windy, but it was nice, right? Jenny was all reading. No, it was cool. And we spent a while there. We were probably there for like an hour.
Uh-huh.
So eventually it was kind of like, but even then, like it was almost kind of sketchy because you couldn't really see much. There's a
Right.
lot of,
Like we're just like, I feel like we're right on the edge
yeah,
of the cliff.
and there's a lot of trees.
And again, there was like a lot of trees too. So it was, if anything, it was a pretty epic spot, but at the same time, a pretty dangerous spot for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird spot for sure.
And at this point, we're like, okay, like we were like probably there for like a good 30 to 40 minutes.
I'd say like an hour. We were there for a while.
Yeah, we were there for quite some time. We're like, okay, maybe like we should start packing up,
Yeah,
like,
it's time to
start
go.
heading down. We're like being a little bit too comfy. We need to still like hike all the way down.
Right. And then drive home.
Yeah.
And you could tell the girls were starting to get tired.
Right.
So it's like, all right, well, let's pack everything up, right? And even Jenny, like, she was kind of starting to get like weird vibes too, right? Because she couldn't see us.
Yeah. And I think this is like the moment that you're like something's telling you something,
I know,
but
right?
you're like ignoring it.
But you could tell it was just kind of sketchy. You could tell that there was just like wildlife there.
Yeah.
Because even when we were pulling in, when we pulled up to the trailhead, there was a deer, remember? There was that little buck
Yeah.
that jumped that fence.
As we were driving.
Hmm. So you could tell it was definitely like perfect for wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So we start packing everything up, right? We pack all of our food, right? Definitely, we don't leave any trash or anything crazy. So we start packing up. We start coming back down, and like as you start getting higher up this trail, it was like getting progressively more rocky, and I feel like harder.
As we were going up.
Yeah, the hardest parts I feel like were at the top.
Right.
There was some parts there where like our even just like the trail climb was pretty freaking steep.
Yeah. It definitely was. It was almost like not a lot of people went up there.
I don't know.
Because
Yeah, I don't think a lot of
it
people
was
made
just
it up to
really
the top.
hard to find that.
Even yeah, just the trailhead. Like I don't think not the trailhead, but like the after like that false top spot that we found,
Mm-hmm.
it was really hard to find where the trail goes
Yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think a lot of people are making it all the way up. I bet
Right.
everybody makes it to that one spot.
Probably. And so then as we started like packing up, we're like, all right, I think this is time, we need to start heading back.
Oh, actually, no, right before we were still eating. We were eating in that couple that was behind us, and then that couple that was behind us and caught up to us.
Mm-hmm. They found their
They
way.
left. Yeah, no, they were leaving.
Well, they found their way where we were, and
Mhm.
then they end up leaving.
They ended up leaving. And when we first got there, they were the only other car, so it was kind of like, okay, well. And I think that's kind of how we were like, you know what, maybe we should pack up because we could. It was obviously we were the only ones up there, so it was like, yeah, we should probably leave.
Mm-hmm.
So after like an hour, right, we pack our stuff up, we start hiking back down, but then it's kind of crazy because the hike down, like you said, it was pretty sketchy,
Hell yeah.
especially with the girls. The girls were able to do it easy. Like the dogs were able to do it like easy.
And I feel like this is the part where it freaking sucks because I feel like when you're going up, it's easier to have them on a leash. And, as you're going down, like they're so used to like pulling, especially I feel like with all these different smells that they're like collecting and like getting, just being like in the woods.
On top of going downhill.
Right. So at this point, like, we're like, frick, man, they're like pulling us at this point, like trying to like go downhill while we're trying to like have our
balance so
our
we don't
balance.
bust our ass, basically. Right. So yeah, like after a while, like I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like she's doing really good. Aurora's doing really good.
And
so,
hold up though, and this is where it just gets like really wild because I don't know, I think this for me just made me realize how dogs can really track their way back.
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, we were letting them lead us back down.
Yeah.
Because the trail was there was a couple spots that were kind of weird.
And we're like, wait, where did we go through?
Like, yeah, I don't even remember where.
And
we
they
went
knew
through.
exactly where. They were like just pulling us.
Yeah, it was great. No, they're so smart.
And we had to like stop and like make sure. We're like, okay, wait.
I was like, did we walk through here? I don't even know.
I know. We have to make sure that they're not just taking us out somewhere
Right?
else.
No,
And I feel like
they
when
did
you're like
great.
on your way back to going downhill, you're so focused
On the
on like
ground.
looking down. Because like, you know,
Yeah.
you're trying not to fall. You have like all these rocks that you're like trying to like step over and
Yeah, you don't want to trip.
yeah.
It is pretty. It's like overstimulating sometimes. So it's kind of like fuck it. We decided to unleash the dogs, and they were doing great. They were doing amazing.
Hmm.
We're making it down. We're making it down, and then we kind of get to where probably I'm maybe almost halfway, maybe about halfway. We'll just say halfway, and we come around this bend, and for some reason they had like a ton of piles everywhere, piles of like cut down trees, and they just like piled them up, like really big piles, really
Mhm.
pretty big piles,
Right.
like definitely bigger than cars, I would say.
Yes.
So they were kind of everywhere, and we're coming around this bend, and there's like this pile like up on the top of this little bend, and as soon as we come around it, our Doberman like kind of like perked up, like she saw something,
And
like a
then
rabbit or something, right? We're
yeah.
like, oh fuck, like she sees something, right?
Hmm. And usually, like when they're at our house, they go pretty wild. Like if they see a squirrel, they go and chase that. If they see a bunny, they go and chase that. They're like, I feel like really good with identifying things.
So she kind of perks up, right, and kind of darts up around this little pile of wood. So we're like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And we started freaking out
We're
because
like,
she was
no.
unleashed.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So we're like, oh, hell no. We cannot risk anything. Like, we cannot have her like run off and just like, you know.
But even then, like we ran into the couple when we first started.
Right.
We had just started coming onto the trail, and there was an older couple leaving, and they had a boxer too, which was kind of cool. And it looked like they had some food, like they were gonna picnic, just like us too, basically.
Yeah.
But they were like, "Oh, hey, like be careful. We saw a rattlesnake up ahead on the trail, so just be careful." And even the wife was all freaked out.
Hmm.
She was like, "Yeah, like this definitely ruined our hike."
I
It
know.
was just like she definitely seemed bummed out.
Yeah. At that point, I was like, whoa, like,
Right. So I get it, right? So I didn't want, especially they were unleashed, so I didn't want Bella running up off the trail.
yeah, that was a little sketchy.
So we come around that berm, and there's a pile of wood up on the top of the trail, and Bella just darts, right? Kind of darts, like perks up, and we're like, "Hey,
Right.
no, like get over here!" Like
Like
I'm
yelling
like,
like freaking crazy over
yeah,
here.
like some crazy dog parent, right?
Um, and then that's where our boxer ends up wanting to go, and I like catch her in time
Right. And
so
we're
that we can
"Hey,
like start
no,
leashing
no."
them up or whatever. So we went ahead and like leashed them up.
Right. She
We're
finally
like,
listened.
okay, they lost
Right.
their privileges. Like they need
Yeah.
to be staying close.
So she listens. She comes back. We're like, "Yeah, you lost your privileges. We leash them." And we're like, "All right." So
All
we
right,
start
we're
walking
good.
around that same little berm, right? We come around the corner.
Yep.
And as soon as we come around the corner, and mind you, the wind is blowing in our face
Oh,
so
forgot
damn
about.
hard.
I keep forgetting about that.
It was so
It
hard.
was really windy, actually.
I
like
kept having to
you can't hear shit.
I kept having to flip my hat around because it was like gonna blow my hat off. And I know, so when we ride motorcycles, I can ride with my hat forward up to like 30 miles an hour. After
Damn.
that, I'm losing my hat for sure. So those winds were pretty crazy. So
Yeah. We had like some music playing, then at that point I think we just took it off
couldn't
because you
hear
couldn't
it.
even hear it.
Couldn't even fucking hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was
it
a little bit
impossible.
sketchy because like I feel like if we got a little bit scared the first time as we were going up the mountain and we just saw like or we heard like a little like, you know, wood like what would you call that? Like wood cracking.
Wood breaking. We were
Yeah,
all
wood
freaked out.
breaking. To the point where you can't hear anything at all, so you can't even hear like what is in your surroundings. Like that was a little sketchy. I'm not gonna lie.
I wasn't thinking about it at all.
I
I was just like, let's
did.
get down to the bottom of the mountain. Like I'm over it. I felt pretty safe because like on the way up, right, we had the backpack, I had the gun like strapped on the shoulder, whatever,
But
right?
and then on the way
Exactly.
back down,
On the way back down,
I was like, "Oh, let me help
You were like,
you."
you know what, whatever. You wanted to carry the backpack, so that meant you were carrying the gun, right?
And I kept forgetting actually,
I
by
know.
the way.
And I kept telling you, I was like, you're not paying attention to the gun, like, because you were just like walking all like throwing it around and shit, like.
I know. I just
Oh my
forgot.
God. So whatever. And you know what's crazy too? When we started the walk, you were like, you kind of looked at me and you were like, again, because I had the gun on my shoulder, not like on my shoulder, like it was strapped to the
Backpack.
straps of the backpack or clipped onto the straps of the backpack. And you were like, that's not loaded, is it? I was just like, well, yeah, that's why I brought it.
I mean, don't you think it would be safer if it was like unloaded and you have it in your pocket?
Like the magazine in my pocket.
Yeah, and then
I
it's like if
guess.
something happens, you just slip it right in.
Sure. But what if you don't have time for that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand the argument. I get it. It's weird. I get it. So we're heading back down, right? We're about halfway. We're coming around that berm. You have the backpack with a gun.
But
And
then as we, so we got them leashed up.
Yeah.
Okay. We realized kind of like some of these things. Well, didn't really realize it, but those are just things to kind of consider within our story.
So we come around the corner.
And our boxer just goes crazy, and so does our Doberman. Like
The
they
dogs
start
are going
yanking
nuts.
us.
Going nuts.
And again, we're still going downhill, so it's still pretty tough.
Sketchy, yeah.
And like, you're trying to like hold them back, and like when you're going downhill and they're pulling you,
it's all sandy.
it's kind of hard to stop them, So it was to the point where Anthony was able to control our Doberman because she's just like way stronger, and
yeah, she's
like
giant.
we just have like this thing where it's like, okay, you take the Doberman for walks. I take the boxer out for walks because she's like super petite. But at that point, Anthony like had control of our Doberman,
Yeah,
and so then they stopped.
Yeah, finally get control of Bella. Yeah,
but then I realized that I was still like that my Aurora is her name, our boxer, like was still dragging me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like and I'm like, what the heck? But then like there was like a moment
where they stopped.
There was a moment where I was looking up, like where she was heading towards, because I was like, okay, like at this point, like she's not yanking just to yank. Like she's not this in a rush to go down the hill. Like she's pulling.
So she yanked you in front of me, right? Because I was in front. So she yanked you in front of me. I got a hold of Bella, and it's obvious that the girls are looking at something off the trail to our right.
Like, yes, in a specific direction.
Oh my God.
At this point, I realized that, and I was trying to see the view of where Aurora, our boxer, was looking at. And the moment that I looked up and started realizing, I was just like looking and looking and looking through the woods, because right here, there's all kinds of trees everywhere. There's those huge like piles of like pieces of wood, and so it's kind of a lot to kind of like look around. But I saw something move in the woods, and it was black. And at that moment, I couldn't believe what I had just saw, especially how close we were and how much more closer we could have been. And I immediately realized that without even knowing exactly what it was, but I just saw something black and moving. And I'm like, and I turned around. I see Anthony just a little bit further away, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a bear, it's a bear. It was a fucking black bear.
So she's like, no, it's a bear, it's a bear. So I'm like, obviously I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to believe, right? So my eyes, I'm sure, like all cracked out. So I'm like trying to see it, right? So I like kind of look over to see what it is. And I look over and I see it.
And at this point too, like I had to make sure that I was like seeing this too, because, Anthony wears glasses. Yes, I wear glasses.
Oh my
But I would
God.
probably say I have the better vision out of Jenny and Anthony.
Without glasses?
Without glasses.
Okay. With glasses, hey, I'm on that 20/20 vision, okay?
So I had to make it clear that I had saw a black bear, and I had to let them know.
So I see it, right? So I see it, and we're like, oh my God, it's a fucking black bear, right? And right behind it are two.
No, hold up. Or okay, yeah, go ahead.
Right behind it are two little cubs.
At this point.
Immediately, I know we're all like shitted, right? So automatically, I'm like, okay, we need to move back up here because we're in a horrible spot.
We were like halfway to meeting them.
We were kind of in between. We had just come down a little bit of a hill into like this flat spot that kind of opened up into an area that was really, really like you can see everything down to the bottom of the trail where the trail was going to turn. And that's where we saw the bears. So we see the cubs, and it was just like, okay, no, we need to go up there.
And then at this moment, when we had all realized that there was actually black bears, not only just a regular black bear, but a mama bear with its cubs, obviously you like freak out. And then not only that, I feel like you kind of freaked me out even more because earlier in the trip, okay, before we had even headed out to that trail specifically, we avoided going to a different trail because
For that same reason.
Yeah, because people had seen a mama bear. So we're like, oh, okay, that's kind of sketchy. Yeah, we should probably shouldn't go there, you know? And so the fact that we saw that, and then the fact that you mentioned before that as well, that yeah, probably a mama bear with its cubs is probably like the worst scenario
we were talking about
you can go through.
We were literally talking about it.
And yeah, so we're like, really? What? Oh my gosh, we were just like talking about it. So at that moment, I was like, no, this is not real. Like, is this really happening? But I realized as I like turned around, I realized I was like way further ahead, just by a little bit in front of Anthony. So I like started freaking out because I'm like front row seat here. So I'm like freaking out, and I like immediately like didn't want to get my eyes off the bear, so I knew like where was that or what, And so like I was like just backing up, and that's when Anthony, you had told us to kind of like gather together and like let's move up the hill a little bit so we can be further away. And at that point too, I saw Jenny. She was far behind, and in her perspective, she had told us that she realized something was off, and she was like before it even had happened, like she was just like seeing
Like the
our dog's
dogs.
reaction, the way that they were like pulling us and stuff like that, and so she was like just analyzing the entire situation and
the
was
dogs
like, "This
are
is
jacking
odd."
us, right? They're pulling us, and she
Right.
doesn't have a dog, so she's kind of just like
the
behind,
fuck?
like walking normal.
Watching us be all crazy, being yanked around.
So we're like, let's go back up to the hill. So I turn around, start walking back up towards Jenny. I got Bella. We turn around, and
And they get up to the freaking little hill, okay? And of how freaked out I was like, why? Why me? Why did this just happen? You know when you see a scary movie and then right when something is about to happen, there's a person that freaking falls. I was that person. And I have proof. I have proof. So if you guys are watching, this right here is proof.
your battle wound. I didn't
Yeah.
even know you fell.
So I fell.
I didn't even see it. Didn't even see it.
Yeah. And then I think that's why I was freaking out even more because I was literally the only one that just had fell. Like I had like looked over there and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, trying to like get up and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if at that moment, like it freaked me out even more because I had fell unexpectedly. And I was like, oh my God, like what the frick? Like, oh my God, like what is going on right
And
now?
nobody
Like,
saw you?
yeah. And then, yeah. So nobody freaking saw me fall, first of all. So there I am just being crazy by myself, asking for Yelp. And, I could have been eaten by a bear and,
Okay.
no one would have even noticed.
You were right in front of me.
And so, geez. So, yeah. So then that's when I was like, oh my God, I got to get my shit together. I stood the fuck back up and started walking backwards still. And until I had met them. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like at this moment, we were just silent because we were looking
Right. We
and
turn
the
around.
bears were not there.
Yeah, we turned around and we lost them.
We had lost them.
So the way that they were coming, right, if you're like looking straight, is like they were coming from our right and like walking to like kind of cross the trail, basically.
Right.
So we get up to kind of top, like to the top of this little kind of tiny hill where like this tree is. And we're standing there and we're kind of waiting, just like super quiet. Nobody's
Yeah.
saying anything.
And at this point too, like everybody's looking straight. I realized that and I'm like, we need to be looking everywhere right now.
Right.
We need to be looking behind us, like from the side to side. Like, this is some sketchy ass shit right now that we're going through.
And while this is going on, I just remember looking at Cindy and just being like, I need the backpack, please.
Yep. And at that moment, we had realized that I was still carrying the backpack. I had fell and I had the backpack. Okay.
Yeah, she fell with the gun that was strapped to the backpack. So good thing you didn't drop it. That would have been awful. But yeah, so I was like, I need the backpack, please. So she gave me the backpack.
Without looking away. So I'm just like,
Right. So I grab it. I strap up. Right. And we're all still just staring.
and then boop,
Yep.
the bear
And
pops out.
The bear pops out.
And it's closer.
And it's closer. Right behind it, you see the cubs.
Head down. And I think at this moment, we realized that the bear didn't know we were there.
It didn't
Because
know.
again, it's windy.
It's windy and we're upwind. We're upwind, and I guarantee the dogs smelt the bears, and that's why they were going ape.
Right.
So we're all still really quiet. But then there's a moment where the bears turn and start walking up the trail towards us. And they're pretty close. So they're probably like 30 yards in front of us.
30 yards? How long is that?
It's like 90 feet. They're pretty close.
They were very close.
It's like basically your neighbor across the street.
If like you can see the face, that's how you know you're close.
Yeah, we were too close. We were way too close.
Oh gosh. At this moment, like we got freaking scared.
So they stop and they turn towards us, and I'm like, oh my God. They're walking straight towards us. And that's really when it settles in that they have absolutely no idea that we're there. Because we're right in front of them on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just casually walking up the trail.
And at this point right now, like as this is all happening, we're not just sitting there just like with our mouths open, like just waiting for something to happen. Like we were like talking it through. We're like, what do we need to do? Like, I've never been in this situation before. Like, what if it starts coming at us? Like, what the hell do we do? Like, what the hell do we do? So we were like just trying to come up with like a bunch of different like game plans. Like, okay, what if we like cut through, like try to go around them, or like, like what if we just go back up? And then that would have been like the worst idea because that was
Yeah, we could go
probably the
up the
hardest
mountain.
part
Right.
of like the entire trail was just what we had came down from. And at this point we were just like, we don't know what to do. But
I feel like all this scrambling, that was a little bit after. Because as they were walking up, and I was just like, oh my God, they don't even know that we're here. It was just like a split second. And honestly, like, I just yelled.
When you started yelling, I was genuinely freaking scared because I'm like, I don't know if this is a good thing or if this is a bad thing.
Because then they know that we're there.
Right. They know damn well that we're there now.
So, yeah, I was just like, hey.
Like, I swear, if there was a camera on us, we would have looked insane. But you just see 3 of us huddled all together on top of a little hill that was far away enough from where they were with our dogs. Surprisingly, our dogs did not bark this entire time. It's like if they knew.
No, I think they knew what was up.
Yeah.
So I yelled. I was like, hey. And the mama bear stops and it looks straight at us.
Right at us.
It
And
looks
we are
up.
all looking at it.
Looks up and then it kind of cambers to the side.
And then you see the little 2 cubs. And okay, the cubs sound cute and, you know, like, oh, they're small little cubs. No, these cubs were like getting ready to like leave their nest.
These are
Like,
some high school cubs.
Like, they were still cute. I mean, you know, putting everything aside.
No, they were pretty thick.
But
they were thick for sure.
that was still sketchy.
So I yelled, they stopped, and they looked straight up at us. And there was just like a moment where it was really quiet. Like, they were just staring at us. We were staring back at it.
Right.
And Jenny turned around.
She did. I think at that moment she just got scared. And she just turned around and was like...
It was intense.
Yes, it was a very
really
intense situation. I'm pretty sure we just like had like a stare down for like probably a minute or 2 straight.
So Bella's behind me.
I know. She was so scared.
And I just kept yelling. Just like, hey. Hey.
Uh-huh.
Jenny turned around.
And then in this freaking moment, she's like, pull out my phone. Pull out my phone. I'm like, we don't got time for this right now. I'm like freaking staring down a freaking bear. Like, this is so, we're probably going to have to like start running.
This is all literally happening in like a minute.
Yeah, like this is all like happening right here, right there.
So I'm like yelling at it.
And then.
And in my mind, like, I'm starting to get nervous. And I'm just like, don't even do it.
And so like I was scared too, because like I don't want to like pull out something and then they think that it's like a threat, or like, you know, we're doing something like weird to them. I don't know. Maybe it's just a thesis. Is that what they call it?
Theory?
A theory. What is a thesis?
A thesis?
Thesis.
A thesis is like
a theory.
What you break down for your project.
Oh. A theory. I don't know, man. That freaking situation was just like super intense.
What I remember is like, I was like, oh my God, they're coming. They're coming up the trail towards us. And it was just quiet. It was windy. And it was like maybe a couple seconds. And then I yelled the first time. And I was just like, hey, hey. And they all stopped. And the mama bear looked up at us, cambered to the side. The bears in behind it looked straight up at us. None of them were moving. We all stood still. And it was like super silent, like weird. It was really weird.
Like, I think at that moment, it was just like 50-50. Like, what is about to happen? Either one,
There's
it probably sees us as a threat.
Yeah, it's a crazy deciding moment.
Yeah. It's like, are they going to come and attack us today, or are they just
in my
scared and just going to leave?
In my mind, in a couple of seconds after I did the first, hey, hey, it was a couple of seconds and I was already like starting to get nervous. So I was like, nope. Like, don't even fucking think about it. Like, please don't fucking walk this way. Please don't keep coming. I was fucking scared. So I was like, nope. And Jenny turned around. She didn't even want to look anymore.
Right. I don't know how she can do that.
So it was just quiet. So then I started waving my arms and just kept yelling. I was like, hey. Like, hey. Like, trying to make sure that it knew that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to like seem threatening, you know, like, but I just wanted it to know that we were there. I wanted to know, like, get a good look at us, like, know what we are, like know that we're here. Because we didn't move. The dogs didn't move.
Right.
As I kept yelling, I can tell Bella was getting nervous
Yeah.
because then she started pushing my back.
Right. Like she
Like
started
she was,
jumping on your back, kind of like, what the heck? Like,
I think
stop.
it was just overwhelming.
Yeah. So at that moment, it was just like, what is about to happen right now? Like, we really don't know. This is in the control of the bear. Like, what mood are they in?
A weird amount of time where the bears just like didn't move,
They
like
were
just
just like
stared at us.
hardcore staring at us, just like really analyzing us
So
or
that gave you
something.
time. That gave you time to take her fucking phone out. And as soon as she pulled her phone out, the bears turned
Yeah.
and started running up the hill.
Yeah. And at that moment, holy crap, man. Like, it was like all before that, there was so much like tension that had built up like within my body, and I was shaking. Like, it was definitely like a scary moment because I've never experienced that before. And after just, I don't know, after just like realizing there for a moment that we were the only ones that were in the mountains, okay? The couple that had arrived after us had already came and left. So like we knew that they were gone. And we knew that we were like kind of I guess like the first ones or the ones that were left behind.
We were the only ones left.
Right.
That really just meant that we thought that we were the only ones up there.
So literally all through that like just entire like situation, there was so many different things that like was happening, but the fact that it was like almost like a weird feeling, like literally a gut feeling where you just felt like something was going to happen.
It's not that it was going to happen. Like
Right, not
it's just
going to
like
happen, but it was like
things were happening where it was kind of just like
preparing us in a way.
I wouldn't even say that.
Because I feel like the second time around, like we were more
We
prepared.
just started seeing the signs. Like for me, I started noticing the signs of like, okay, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like
Like with the dogs.
with the dogs, the couple. When we were up at the top,
Rattlesnake.
like I even like crouched down because
The
I couldn't see
cave.
anything. The cave, like it was kind of just weird
It was like
vibes,
all.
right? And so when the dog started going nuts, it was automatically like, okay, this something's wrong.
Yeah.
So then all that happens, right? The bear turns and we have to wait because where the bears were, literally, we have to cross to go down the fucking mountain.
I don't know if I was more scared when we were having that stare off or when we were passing literally through where they were at.
Yes, we waited a little bit and we started walking back down the trail. Like we started keep going.
Or like we have to.
And I just kept yelling like every couple of seconds, just like
Oh gosh, and that feeling was like, okay, because as we started like walking towards like that direction where literally they were at, it gets like worse with like all these different piles of
because it like opens up.
branches. Literally when we were just going through there, we were so huddled up together, still scared. Probably a little bit more scared because now
Yeah, I was up in front.
we don't know where they're at.
You guys were all
They
huddled up.
left.
Yeah, so I just kept like yelling and we had to walk right past where they were walking and the dogs like you could tell because they started kind of going nuts again like where they were.
Or just we had them like on a really short leash, but they were like they knew like
They could smell something.
they
Yeah,
could
it was weird.
definitely smell
It
something.
was super sketchy.
Yeah.
We come around that little curve where they just were and in front of us like we hear another fucking noise.
Like, oh my gosh, like
This is too much,
when
man.
is this going to be over? Like literally at that moment, like my knees were shaking. I'm pretty sure we were all feeling the exact same way. Our dogs are probably like, what the
It's
frick
just,
is
like,
happening right now?
Too much fucking stress.
With the
man.
wind, you can't even hear anything. But it's like at the same time, like we're so like, I don't know at that point, like just so
like in tune,
like alert or
freaked
something.
out. Yeah.
that like we're just like literally looking like everywhere because as we kept like walking, we're like looking behind us, like
So we don't know what happened to the bears.
right, like after they had left. I don't know if they're standing behind something and like watching us, or waiting for the right moment, or they just literally just left, and we don't know. We just we didn't have a track as far as like where they went. So when we were like going in the area where they were literally at, it was definitely sketchy and it was just scary. And then on top of hearing something else, we're like, all right, like what the hell?
Now
Like we
what?
need to be prepared here.
It's like now what, right? So we stop again, and we're kind of just waiting to see what it is, but this time it's in front of us and even closer.
Yeah.
And the first thing you see is just like the bill of some guy's hat.
Like literally, like I was just, and it was luckily a blue hat and
Yeah.
it was very noticeable. So I was like,
Yep.
oh my God. And at the same time, like it was like a sense of relief because,
Yeah, it was just like some couple.
yeah, but like knowing that we weren't the only ones,
Yeah.
like that was just a sense of relief to begin with.
So I'm kind of like walking. I'm up front. I'm like, hey, like all out of breath, and he
All
couldn't. He
scared.
couldn't really hear us, right? So you could tell they were confused. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like we walk all the way up to him, and we didn't even really stop walking.
Right. We're like still walking here. We're like, hey, like,
We
that
just saw, yeah, we just saw a bear and two cubs like right around the corner.
and then the guy's like, oh, really? That's cool.
He's like, oh, really? Yeah, like he wanted to go back. He wanted to see it.
And we're like, hell no. Like,
We're
there
like,
was a fucking bear with cubs.
yeah.
Okay. A mama bear with cubs. And then I think at that moment, we were just so freaking scared. We just wanted to leave and we just wanted to like get down to the bottom of the of the trail
Just
already.
trying to get off the
Okay.
trail. So, yeah,
So we didn't like stop walking. We're like it's like, yeah, there were just like two bears, like describing like the situation a little bit. And the guy just seemed like all excited about the fact that, like, oh, bears, like, oh, that's cool. But then I think the
the wife.
wife, she started realizing that one, we were not stopping. Two,
We
there
were
was,
scared. You could tell we were scared.
yeah.
For
And
sure.
I think there was a moment there where I swear, when sometimes you're like in sync with somebody and like at that moment, like I wasn't paying attention to them. I was like still looking around, making sure that we were like still safe. And I swear I thought I saw something move and I got like really freaked out and I kind of like flinched a little bit. And she looked like she was about to run. So it's just hilarious how I witnessed that. But yeah, so we just like continued walking.
Well, she was like, well, he's packing. So maybe we should be with these guys. Like she was not feeling it. The guy, you could tell he wanted to fucking go see the damn bears.
Yeah.
Fucking guy. But yeah, we we just kept walking. We were like, whatever. So they kind of started following us. We're like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And we just start trucking down the trail.
But they were also like really debating it though. They were really like deciding if they should continue. Like
I
you
don't
can
think
tell
I
that
don't
he
think they
wanted to continue. And she was like, no, like
I
we should
don't
believe them.
I don't think they believed us.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't think so.
I don't think they believed us.
But I mean, at the same time, like I don't blame them because we didn't go into full detail as far as like what literally had just happened. We're just like we just saw two bears, like
Detail.
so some they might think that it was just like from far away or like from like a petting zoo.
Well, we made it to the bottom. We made it to the bottom really fast. And
I
it's
was
just
like,
like,
oh my gosh, thank God, this was surreal. This was a crazy moment.
so I started even afterwards, right? It's like, what the fuck just happened, right? I even started looking it up. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, I was like, yeah, because now's the time, right? And honestly, like, it's great. Like, we did the right thing.
Yeah, after like looking up what we were supposed to do and all that, like, yeah,
We
honestly, I
didn't
think,
run.
yeah, we stayed all together. However, we did have a staring contest, and they say to not have
Yeah,
a
I guess
staring
you're not supposed to
contest
stare at them. Yeah,
because that they take that as a threat, and maybe that's why they were staring at us for so dang long because they were like, "What is about to happen right now? Are you challenging me?"
could be the deal for sure.
But I think the moment that literally probably saved us, I don't know what. It could have either been the waves. It could have been me and Jenny, or Jenny and I, like turning away, like like not looking at them anymore,
I see what you're saying.
or maybe it was pulling out the phone. They're like, "What the heck was that?" And then they like got scared or something. I have no idea.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
But luckily, we got safe down, and here we are, sharing this story with you guys, with some evidence.
It was just way too damn close, man.
It was just a crazy experience, and I think, like, sometimes I don't know, I think, like, sometimes we might underestimate, um, like, our own areas of living, I guess.
I
Like,
know
we're
we're
so
so
like, everybody here, I feel like, is so used to,
we're
like,
so
going to the
calloused.
mountains and just, it's rare when you see something. It
Well,
is.
it's almost kind of dumb though, isn't it? We're so calloused and so used to the city life and never seeing any wildlife that we're literally walking in nature's back fucking yard. We
Mhm.
pull into the front as we're getting to the gate. We see a fucking deer. I mean, come on, man. So it's like we shouldn't fucking be surprised, but when we see it, I mean, yeah, it's super surprising. Like,
And not
but
only that,
still,
we have mountain lions here.
mm,
We have bears,
mm,
moose, elk,
yeah, rattlesnakes.
rattlesnakes apparently. So, you know what I
Oh
mean?
man,
Like, if you guys, like, amigos, like, if you guys are going to go out to the mountains, like, definitely just, you know, take a lot of things into consideration. And, even though I
just be
looked at you,
safe, man.
I feel like even though I, like, looked at you, like, in a weird way, like, okay, really? Like, come on. Like, that's a little extreme.
Oh, with the gun,
Yeah, with your gun, packing it and taking it. Um, but it's like, if we literally did not have that,
we would have had nothing. We would have had the dogs.
not even pepper spray. Like, we didn't even have anything like that at all. Like, it would have been just on the gun that we would have been depending on.
Yep.
And if there was no gun, there would be literally nothing that we would have to defend ourselves with. But bare knuckles? Like, what? However, there is that one guy that said that he pretty much, like, strangled, or like
Oh, the guy that
choked.
choked a mountain lion.
Yeah, that choked a mountain lion.
That guy's a gangster.
That's freaking wild. I don't know if you guys seen this video as well, that I'm pretty sure it was very popular, but it was with that mountain lion that happened here in Horsetooth. And it was like,
Was that here?
I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
I don't.
I thought it was here in
I don't know if it
Colorado.
was here. But I know. I think I know what video you're talking about, where the bobcat was like, or was it a mountain lion? Where the mountain lion was following the guy down the trail,
Right.
and it was like
And he was like
smacking the ground and
recording the
shit.
entire time. He's like, no, no. And then started throwing rocks, and that's what saved him.
Yeah.
The mountain lion got scared from rocks being thrown. And see, even with that too, it's like I did not even think at that moment, because it was just like so much was happening, like, in like seconds, that felt like probably longer than what it was maybe in reality. I don't know. But like, it just wasn't enough for me to like grab a rock at that moment. I think I just like didn't want to move, was what it was. I just didn't want to move or anything like that. And I was just like, we need to stay still.
So crazy, man.
So wild.
It just makes you think. There's just so many different scenarios. Like, we had just leashed up the dogs. Because if we didn't leash the dogs up when we came around and we saw the bears, the dogs would have chased the bears. And that would have been
That would have
been a
been
really bad day.
horrible. Wasn't there actually an article that you read here
Yeah.
in Colorado? It was a young lady.
Yeah, so I freaked out. I don't think I think it was an older lady. But I freaked out. Obviously, afterwards, it's like after this happened, I was like looking up articles. And one of the first ones that came up, it was like this lady who was walking her dogs and ended up getting attacked by a bear and two cubs. And she didn't get found until later. The husband or the boyfriend came home and the dogs were there with
Leashed up.
leashes on.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what the fuck? Couldn't find his girlfriend. Well, walks up the trail and finds her half eaten, dead.
Like, what?
So then the ranger goes out. They track down the bear and two cubs. They killed the bear and two cubs, and they find basically human remains in their stomachs. And it just goes on and explain. It was just like dogs are typically the reason why bear attacks happen in most cases. It's usually like the dog will have some sort of altercation with the bear and the dog owner tries to intervene. Or it says like the dogs will see the bear run
Try to-
away from the bear
Try to go back to its owner. And
for
then
safety.
The next thing you know,
Yeah.
the bear is there.
Next thing you know, the fucking bear is literally right there.
Right.
On this case, I feel like for us, if we didn't leash the dogs, it would have been one of those stories.
Like, if we would have just ignored that and then
Not
been
leashed
like,
them.
oh, like, you know, like, be more closer, you know,
For me,
that would have been a different story.
For me, what's almost just as scary is if we would have kept hanging out up at the top for another 30 minutes.
Hell no.
And if that's where their cave was, if that's where their home, if that's where they were chilling,
Guys, like, what?
it would have been so bad because we weren't next to Jenny. Jenny was off on top of the hill reading. We had the dogs tied to a fucking tree. We're sitting there eating food next to a fucking cliff, literally.
Mm-hmm. Super sketchy.
Or when we were coming back down and we were literally like having to help Auroria down those spots, not paying attention.
Right.
We would have had nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the bag.
You guys. Amigos.
Like it was so.
Learn from our lesson.
Oh my God, man.
Okay, just like be aware, definitely, of your surroundings. Whenever you go to the mountains, or for anybody that is visiting Colorado and might be their first time experiencing the mountains, going out for a hike, like it's a wild life out there. That's nature, and we just have to be careful. We have to be safe.
Yeah, with that being said, we're so fortunate. So fortunate. We just need to be smart. That was pretty damn scary.
Buy some bear spray.
Definitely gonna get some bear spray for sure. I'm gonna keep taking my gun. For sure. We'll just be more aware, you know? That could have been pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is our story from the weekend as we decided to just go out for a hike for the first time in probably an entire year.
And it just makes you think, you know? Like growing up, my dad would always tell me to trust your gut. Always.
And that was exactly everything that was happening. There was so many different signs, like so many different, like literally feelings inside where it's like, something's off.
Oh my
but
God.
then if you ignore those signs, you just can't. You know, you gotta just gut. You have to like trust yourself, and you have to definitely trust your gut.
Right. That's really important. So, learn from our mistakes. We did. But I really think what we did was the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm glad we're safe.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're here, being able to share this story, and I'm glad that, you know, we're just safe. It's crazy. I just can't believe we experienced something like that. So, on that note,
Yeah. No more of the sob story.
no, I feel like I feel like if anything, it's just trusting your gut.
Trust your gut.
And
Trust your instincts.
yeah,
That shit's real, man. You could tell when something's off. When something's off, you need to be on point. So just try to be as ready as you can, whatever that situation is. Just be prepared, be smart, be safe, have a plan, like always.
right. I was gonna say, like always.
Have a fucking plan, guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that will be a wrap of today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed our little story. Let us know in the comments if you've ever encountered anything crazy.
Or
We would love to know.
send us a story about you trusting your gut or not trusting your gut. That would be kind of cool. I'd like to hear some cool stories,
Mm-hmm.
or read some cool stories.
Yeah, for sure.
So, hell
So-
yeah, amigos. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like always, this is the Sancha and Sancho podcast.
Mm.
Make sure you hit that like, share,
And
subscribe,
button.
and that little bell over there to make sure you guys get notifications every time we drop a new podcast like this one. That's it. Let's do it.
All
Let's
right.
get out of here.
Until next time, amigos. Thank you for tuning in.